All right, guys, this is section 3.3. We're going to do 3.3 today. I'll upload the video. When you come back from Thanksgiving, I know that seems like forever. It's going to be, we'll be back before you know it. We're going to do 3.4. Then we're going to review for a couple days. We'll do our last test. That is the last anything for the quarter. We have a nice long review that I'm going to post. I'm going to work through the review for you for the midterm, and then we'll be out for Christmas. So if I look at 3.3, this is called getting information from graphs. There's all sorts of stuff that we can get information-wise from the graph. You can tell me where stuff is increasing and decreasing. You can tell me where the X and Y intercepts are. You can tell me domain and range, all that stuff. You guys have talked about this before, but I'm going to go over it again. One of the things I need you to always remember is you read intervals of increase and decrease. Write this down. On the x-axis. Intervals of increase and decrease is read along the x-axis. The y doesn't matter. This is confusing, and I understand that. You guys always want to look at the y because the y is what tells you the up and down, right? But you're not looking at the up and down. You're looking at the values of the x-axis over which the function is increasing or decreasing. How do we read a graph? How do you read a book? Left to right. So we read a graph from left to right. So if you have a question of if the graph is increasing or decreasing, put your finger on it and follow it. My finger from A to B went which direction? Up. So it's what? Increasing. Okay. From B to C, what direction did my finger go? Down. So that's what? Decreasing. And then from C to D it went back up. So this graph has two periods or two intervals of what? And one interval of decrease, okay? So let's look at that. This is what this says, okay? Increasing goes up, decreasing goes down. So when I talk about intervals of increase and decrease, you guys see this graph? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, so let's just talk about what's going on in the graph. Everybody watch. From here to here, what's going on? It's increasing. On the x-axis, this is what I'm going to tell you guys to do. Whenever you have to read intervals of increase and decrease, cross off anything on the y. It doesn't matter. Then you don't get yourself confused. On the black line, from what number on the x-axis to what number on the x-axis does this graph increase? From 0 to what? 25. Do you see that? So if I said to you, what is the interval of increase, you guys would say from 0 to 25. What happens here? It's steady. What's another word for steady? That's good. Constant. Perfect. It's constant. What is this graph constant from? From what point on the x-axis? 25 to what, William? 25 to 35. Perfect. And then what happens again? It increases. Agreed? From where to where? From 35 to 40. Perfect. Then what happens? It decreases. What's the decrease interval? From 40 to what? 50. And then what's the last part? Constant. From where to where? From 50 to 80. Is that incredibly hard to do? No, but you have to remember different things. When I read intervals of increase and decrease, what is the only axis that I look at? X. The only axis you look at. What did I do with all the stuff in the Y? I crossed out, so I don't even have to look at it. I think that's a really good idea to do, guys. All right, determine the intervals in which the function W is increasing and those to which it's decreasing. Okay, so let's just talk for a second. Can you increase and decrease at the exact same time? No. There's going to be points where it starts to change directions. It's going to go from increasing to maybe constant or increasing to decreasing. So would you guys agree with me that right here is the point where that starts to change directions? You agreed? Okay, would you also agree that like maybe right there it starts to change directions? And then would you agree that, well, no, it's still increasing. So let's look at this for a second. I'm starting here. What do I do? Remind me again, I forgot. What axis do we read along? X. So what am I doing with all this? Cross it out. Cross it out. So now follow the graph and tell me what's going on here. Does it looks like it increases the whole way, right? Is it still going up a little slightly? Okay, so it's increasing. We're going to write this. Increase from what on the x-axis? 0 to where? To 30. Okay. Agreed? Okay, so now I'm going to look. And my graph does what? It decreases. So then I have a decrease. Whoops. From where on the x-axis to where on the x-axis? Say 30 to 35 about. That's fine. And then what does it look like my graph does again? It increases from where to where? So 35 to 70. What's that symbol that we put in the middle that says something's happening here and here? What is it, Christian? Perfect. Good job. Everybody see that? Because we read intervals of increase and decrease at what?
X.
On the x-axis. Good. All right. Find the domain and range and the intervals of increase and decrease. Remind me again, please, guys. What is the domain? What values?
X.
The x. So domain is my x. So this graph starts where on the x-axis? Here, let me change this. Let's just change this to -5 and change this to +5. So where does it start on the x-axis? -4. And it goes over to what? On the x-axis? +4. Does everybody see that? Okay. Now let's talk about the range. The range is what to what? Low to... So what's the lowest point on the x-axis? -40. And then what's the highest point on the y-axis? Positive what? +30, say? Okay. If you draw arrows, things aren't so bad. Now we're going to talk about our increase and decrease. So I'm going to erase my lines. Yep. Because it's a specific starting and stopping. If it had arrows at the end, it would tell you that it was going forever and ever and ever. Good question. On intervals of increase and decrease, we always use parentheses because you cannot increase and decrease simultaneously at the same time. Okay, so let's follow my graph. Just talk to me. Tell me what my graph is doing as I'm moving upwards. Okay, what's happening? It's going what? Okay. Okay, you guys see that? Okay, so let's go back. What am I going to cross off so I don't get myself confused? The y's. This does not matter. If I'm talking about increase, where is my graph going upwards? I would say from on the x-axis. -4 to -2. Borja, perfect. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. Then the next part of the graph, what's it doing? It's decreasing from -2 to 0. And then what does it do here? From where? And then what's it doing? From 4 to 6. Let's change this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say this is 7. right? Okay, what do I put in between my increases and my decreases to say, hey, something's happening twice? A union, good.
And then if it was like more,
you just keep putting unions. Yep. Matt. The lowest point to the highest point. So I drew, let me unarray, the lowest point, right, since I crossed off it was hard to see, but the lowest point that graph starts at would be there, and then the highest point is right there. Lots of drawing on this. All right, local maximum and local minimum. Local minimum and local maximum, those are our bumps. It's not the highest point of the graph, but it's a high point. It's not the lowest point of the graph, but it's a low point. So if I said to you that there was a local, what would this be, a local maximum or a minimum? Is that a high point or a low point? That's a high point. At what part of the y? Because we're talking about high and low. So it's at about y equals 10, right? And here's, I would say, the local minimum is at about y equals what? What is it? Like, let's just go with negative 10, since it's not right on there. But all the local minimum and maximum that they want you guys to do from here is just the bumps, the high and the lows. Does that make sense? Not anything crazy. Promise. I think that's it for today. Yeah.